Well, earlier this week, tech giant Microsoft acquired LinkedIn, a professional social network, for a bit more than $26 billion. It was a move, in fact, praised by the co-founder of Microsoft, Bill Gates, who called the deal a great transaction. Nick, Martell and Jack Kramer of MarketSnacks, an online newsletter with the day's business and tech news, join us now to discuss all sorts of tech news, but we're going to start with Microsoft and the acquisition of LinkedIn. First, what was behind the bidding for Microsoft?
Sure. So Microsoft has been interested in acquiring LinkedIn for a long time, years apparently, and last Monday they finally announced for $26 billion they're acquiring the social network for unemployed people.
Yeah. I mean, is it simply for the information therein?
No, there's also this sales element to it. So you got to think of the psychology of sales and making connections. And that's where LinkedIn prospers, and that's what Microsoft wants to take advantage of in this.
We hear numbers, offers made, companies turn them down, and then you think, wow, like Snapchat walked away from $3 billion from Facebook. Turns out that was a good move. $26 billion. Bargain?
Actually, that's the thing we thought was pretty exciting.
Yeah.
Total bargain. You look at the last earnings report from LinkedIn, the stock fell like 50% afterwards because it was just projecting lower than analysts expected. So that's one thing. Then you had LinkedIn purchase Lynda last year, an education platform, so it kind of beefed itself up a bit. And basically it was like tying LinkedIn together with like a bow and wrapper. It was perfect.
Yeah, basically LinkedIn buys Lynda and puts on its Sunday finest and says,
Totally.
We're ready for purchase.
Yeah.
All right, well then a good move, I suppose, for Microsoft. You mentioned stocks plummeting. Fitbit, the owners of Fitbit, including one in my ear, actually knows whereof you speak. It's had a bad year, down 51% thus far. Why are investors running for the hills?
Apple, man, Apple. We think Apple kind of crossed a boundary this week at their developer conference. They announced some upgrades to the operating system to the watch, which is really going to make the Apple Watch like completely imitate what Fitbit does. And the main part is the social factor.
And Fitbit's seen this coming. So like Fitbit knows when Apple wants to crush it, Apple can move in and crush it.
Right.
So that's why they've been pursuing these wellness initiatives. So Fitbit's desperate to connect with these HR departments at firms because like not everyone has a six-pack at every American company, but if they do, it's better for the healthcare costs for that company.
But Fitbit has the market share right now. I wonder too.
Yeah.
Revisionist history for Apple right now. The Apple Watch was supposed to revolutionize our life and make it easier, a la the iPhone.
Yeah.
There are people who will tell you that it was a hit, many of them with some connection, I suppose, to the company. But is this Apple sort of stumbling upon a use for a product that was not obviously intended for it?
Well, the funny thing is the Fitbit product, we like to say, is doing fine. I mean, we've got them. We're competing on steps and stuff all the time. In the last earnings report, Fitbit did like $500 million in revenues.
And 5 million sales, yeah.
Yeah, and 5 million sales of actual Fitbits. And then over Christmas, everyone unwrapped their Fitbits. The next day, it was the top performing app.
All right, so we got to get in here because here's the thing is, especially men, we have so few accessories. Like maybe we throw a tie on and maybe we throw a watch on, and the problem it sucks. Yes, and trust me, you don't want underneath this desk. That's not like the problem. But you wearing a watch when a company takes one of my two accessories away from me. I mean, I really believe there was a fundamental problem with the idea of the watch. It wasn't going to just be a piece of technology; it was also an accessory. Fitbit does still exist as a complementary item to be worn on one's wrist.
Right.
This is a battle for the soul of accessories as much as anything.
I think it's subtle. It's attractive. It's also only $100. I mean, the Apple Watch is $400. So I think Wall Street figured Apple was going to dominate the whole market, but Wall Street has to realize that not everyone has a Wall Street salary. So sales are still quite good there.
So, but when the Apple Tyrannosaurus Rex arrives to the watering hole, everybody
we
out.
say ever since the announcement that they were making a watch, shares have been stuck under an eye ceiling. And even though they've had 3 straight great quarters, analysts just won't give them the time of day.
All right. Well, apologies then to that man in my ear. Meanwhile, another rough go of it for Chipotle continues. Down 35%, under, in fact, $400 a share for the first time since 2013, and prospects are not rosy on that horizon.
Yeah, full disclosure here, I'm not a Chipotle shareholder, but I eat a lot of burritos, so we know the space well.
Yes.
But really, it was 2 main reasons this week that sunk it below that $400 mark.
One was a Harris poll. Chipotle has been for 4 straight years the #1 most favorite Mexican restaurant chain, but they dropped to number 5 or further. They actually didn't even come into the top 4, which was all that was listed.
Really? I mean, I know Moe's is #1.
Moe's, yeah.
I dug into my research as a lover of the wrapped food.
You're not going to
myself.
believe it's number 2.
Taco Bell is number 2. So that's really damn.
But doesn't again, if we're talking about optics, as we were with Fitbit and Apple, Taco Bell was just fast. It wasn't the fast, casual, healthy that Chipotle seemingly had cornered. Now, though, that would suggest a sea change in terms of optics.
Well, the thing about fast casual is that Chipotle was the pioneer, and we're fast casualing like every day at lunch in Manhattan. I mean, in the Flatiron area, you can't walk a step without seeing a spot.
Yeah.
The new Chipotle of Indian foods, like right around the corner, and there are 2 of them. But as they pioneered that, they've created this market, and now it's becoming increasingly fragmented. And you even have these fast food places kind of moving in on the trend with, Starbucks having breakfast sandwiches with all egg whites.
We've seen E. coli outbreaks. We've seen
norovirus.
The norovirus outbreaks. We've seen these things. We've seen all manner of restaurant chain be struck by these. Why did this seem to really stick like a tattoo, like a scarlet letter on this chain?
It's because they branded themselves as organic, clean, fresh. They had an ad campaign that was really funny where people were going to farms with animation and picking their own tomatoes. Now those tomatoes have E. coli. So their #1 branding has come back to bite them.
So if you were buying a burrito at Chipotle and walking it off wearing your Fitbit, so you had a bad week.
Yeah, bad week. But they're trying. I mean, they're trying. They've cut the co-CEO's pay. They're giving away free burritos. I think they're spending 30% of their revenues right now on food safety.
Yeah.
So they're trying, but it's hard to.
Can they come back again? This was the leader in the space.
Yeah.
Can they assume the throne again?
Well, the big thought process through Wall Street analysts in general was, yes, it just takes time. You need to reestablish the trust. But that's why the stock fell this week, is that was one of the first analysts to really say from Deutsche Bank, actually not all these customers may be coming back.
Well, you strike me as, millennial sorts, albeit with a wonderfully hirsute face.
An exceptional.
Yes.
Makeup helps.
But we have often heard that millennials demand that the companies that they do business with stand for something, have products they can stand behind. You mentioned the idea of trust. Then getting back their core demographic, it seems, might be a lot harder than just giving away some free food.
I think they're taking the right approach. As you mentioned earlier, they shut down the entire chain for several hours in order to give a training to all the employees about how to improve the sanitation and avoid this in the future. So that was trust building, I would say, but time will tell.
I mean, the other thing about millennials is we're notoriously not brand loyal. So, it's like SoulCycle one day, and then it's Flywheel, and then it's Recycle Studio. I mean, it's like a total mix.
Dos Toros is the same thing as Chipotle in New York City. There's almost as many as Chipotle's, and they don't have any viruses I need to worry about.
Well, we certainly do appreciate your incredible loyalty to those of us here at CBSN, especially for those of you watching on your Xbox. That is most important. Nick Martell, Jack Kramer, come back. We have more things to discuss.
Nice.
Thanks.